Okay. Check, check, check. One, two, three. Hello, hello, hello. Is there anybody out there? No, I'm kidding. Hello everyone. This is Dalster, and welcome back to another live stream. This is actually going to be a short one because I'm actually supposed to eat dinner in a couple minutes, so um, I probably won't be streaming long. But I just want to say real quickly, thank you guys so much for following me on Twitch. I didn't think that I would honestly get that many followers on Twitch, let alone like anything in general. But thank you so much. I want to thank Sif for Scythe 3R Woman, Classy Keys, ST, Ed Bum or Eddie Bum. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name wrong. I'm trying to Steph07. Okay. Kami-sama 29 and let me see. Oh god. Sorry guys, it's just like I just really okay. Yeah, I got it. I fix stuff and Ari Alvera 30, Exo Garcia and Adriana Rodriguez and LAMC Lights, Antonez, Antonella, Say Hi, Daniela Leon, and Bole Bionan or Said. I don't know if his name is Bole Bion. But yeah, I'm sorry for this recent random stream. It's just that ever since I finished the Quiet on Set, there's been a lot of updates regarding the Quiet on Set. There's been a really long just very like a lot of people coming forward, and some people not unfortunately understanding the whole point of this documentary. But and Dan Schneider also has come out with an apology, and I wanted to go over that first before I go over anyone else's. The reason why is because when was this? I'm trying to remember. Oh, it was on Friday. So on Friday, I woke up pretty angry. I found out that the Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide cast Lindsay Shaw and Devin Werkheiser. And I don't know if you could blame the other guy, the one that played Cookie. They did a live. When did they did? I think they did it on Thursday or something. And Devin was making fun of Troy Bell's story and pretty much saying, you should have never spoken about this, Dan, and just laughing manically on live. And it really bothered me for a while. I got so mad. I was like really angry. And for the first time, I wasn't mad at a certain someone who I've been upset with for a long time. But I really don't like that Devin did that. And especially Lindsay Shaw. I really don't like Lindsay Shaw. She's such a spoiled brat. Like, she's not a really good person. I've heard things about her, and she just sounds like a really whiny person, in my opinion. And I was gonna do a live stream about it, but I think maybe it's best to do Dan first, since he's the one that started the whole thing and kind of ignited this documentary. And I just wanted to go over the apology with you guys. Also because I think there's gonna be a lot more coming out with this documentary. I think this is just like a huge bomb for Nickelodeon in general. And I don't know, I mean, I feel like we should talk more about this, because the more we talk about it, the more awareness people are gonna see, and the more people, there might be action done. Hopefully there might be action done with Nickelodeon's practices and stuff. And hopefully some people will get held accountable for their actions. Because again, a lot of these adults who were former child stars on all that and Nickelodeon, they were traumatized. And I feel like it's time we just need to start speaking up about it, because for years we've been seeing a lot of like just a lot of child stars through the years, going back to the 1900s, like just not doing so great, and the only way we could try to change that is if we have more better rules, so that way for future generations they would be safe and sound. I might be putting this video on Twitch. I mean, not Twitch. Well, yeah, I'm putting it on Twitch, on YouTube as well. So, but thank you guys so much for 15 followers. I really appreciate it. So I'm gonna try and get to the video, and if you guys have any problems, let me know with the volume and stuff, because I know sometimes I'm not really tech savvy. So I'm gonna go over the apology and just, you know, say my opinion and stuff, and just go over it and everything.
Hey, it's Boogie. I played T-Bo on Nickelodeon's iCarly.
You know what's sad about this thing is that this guy that plays T-Bo or whatever, he was in iCarly and he was like the taco guy. But I mean, when you're in a role like that, especially for black people, I hope this just doesn't offend anyone, but it's just that to me I feel like it's really downgrading them. But I don't know. I just feel like it's really insulting to them that, I mean, he could have had a much bigger role, but again, I've talked about this before, that Dan hardly has any black people as lead characters other than game changers or game shakers and that one show Henry Danger. My brother was actually watching it yesterday, and I told him, "Why are you watching this? You do know Dan Schneider does it." And he's like, "Well, you're the one that's over there." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I guess you're right." But still, I really don't understand my brother. Sometimes I'm just like, you shouldn't even be watching it. But anyway, I'll go. Let's hear what he has to say.
I got a chance to watch the Quiet on Set program, and I reached out to Dan to see if it was something that he'd be willing to discuss. I'm pleased to say that he said yes. Dan, how are you?
I'm okay. I really appreciate you reaching out and giving me the opportunity to talk to you about what we saw over the last 2 nights.
I'm really glad you're here because I believe this is important.
For sure.
We've got a lot of things to unpack. But before I dive into my list of topics that I'd like to discuss, is there anything you'd like to start off with?
Absolutely. Watching over the past 2 nights.
Also, this video is from Dan Schneider's YouTube channel. It's not from the Boogie guy's channel. I don't know why they made it seem like Boogie wanted to do this video, but it's actually Dan's video. It's on his channel.
It was very difficult, me facing my past behaviors, some of which are embarrassing and that I regret, and I definitely owe some people a pretty strong apology.
Well, he hasn't been on Twitter or anything to apologize. Haven't heard anything from anyone, Nickelodeon star, saying that, "Oh, Dan apologized." The only person I've heard so far is that Josh Peck has apologized to Drake about his behavior.
Let's talk about the massages.
Okay.
Watching the content yesterday, it was disturbing.
It was wrong. It was wrong that I ever put anybody in that position. It was the wrong thing to do. I'd never do it today. I'm embarrassed that I did it then.
Well, yeah, because you let your ego get the best of you.
I apologize to anybody that I ever put in that situation. And even additionally, I apologize to the people who were walking around Video Village or wherever they happened, because there were lots of people there who witnessed it who also may have felt uncomfortable. So I owe them an apology as well.
Yeah. Dan, talk to me about the writer's room. From what I saw, not cool.
No.
Oh, yes.
No. And
he was being really rude to those ladies. In fact, he had to have those two ladies share his salary, which is messed up. And also, he had one of them do like a weird position. I'm not going to say because, you know, YouTube rules. But it was really gross and dehumanizing from what it said on the documentary. Again, these are allegations.
I don't mean to cut you off, but if I can cut right to the chase, let me just say, no writer should ever feel uncomfortable in any writer's room, ever, period, the end, no excuses. Most TV writers, comedy writers have been in writers' rooms, and they are aware that a lot of times there are inappropriate jokes made and inappropriate topics come up. But the fact that I participated in that, especially when I was leading the room, it embarrasses me. I shouldn't have done it. And I can tell you why it hurts really
Honestly, like, he should have known better. I don't know why. Well, actually, I know why. Because he has a big ego. It got so big that it just. There was no turning back for him. He's just very selfish. A lot of people on YouTube have been saying that, but I don't know. I just wanted to say my opinion. I hope you guys understand.
Bad for me. I remember very clearly my early experiences, my first experiences in the entertainment business. I was green, I was scared, I was excited. It meant that
What I found out is that Dan's father went to Harvard, and supposedly as a kid he got made fun of because he was a little. Well, he wasn't a little, but for his body and back in the day, and I guess he took it out on his co-stars and everyone that worked around him, which again, not a good way to present yourself in front of everyone.
the world to me that I was getting those opportunities. And I went in and I got lucky because they were great. My first couple of experiences were fantastic. And the fact that I didn't pay that forward to every employee that walked through my door, it hurts my heart because I should have. And I wish I could go back and fix that. In the writer's room, there's no doubt that sometimes those jokes went beyond the pale and I said things that went too far or made practical jokes that went too far.
And that's the thing about society as well. You say something, and I'll admit, I've said things too, and people call me out for it. I'm like, oh crap, I didn't even know that. Thank you for telling me that. But he should have known better. Like, he was a grown man. I don't know. It's just so dumb. Like, he should have had more empathy and sympathy, but he didn't. He didn't really seem to care about anyone but himself and just what he wanted. And it could also be Nickelodeon too. I mean, maybe he just got so pressured a little bit by them and he just felt like, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Well, I don't know. It's just, he really needs to be held accountable for his actions. At least apologize to every single person you've hurt. That's all. I think that's what everyone wants. But, I mean, some people rather prefer him go to prison.
That was wrong, and that was because, you know, I was an inexperienced producer. I was immature. Wouldn't happen today, but I'm just really sorry it happened.
Yeah. Now, we know you've had a lot of success over 2 decades. Thousands of people have worked with you, for you.
Okay.
Let's speak directly to the people who did not have a good experience with you.
Okay, I would like to speak.
Well, the problem with working with Dan is that it's pretty much the only thing they had to do. They had to get experience. I mean, in a way, their stories from what they said on Quiet on Set is similar to kind of what society today is going through. You have to work in order to get experience, because if you just apply for places, it will be difficult to get a job because they always expect some kind of experience. And you're like, well, that's why I'm applying for your job, to get more experience. But I don't know, maybe they just had to. But for some, they kind of had to because they had to provide for their families. And I don't know. I mean, maybe Dan should have known better. But again, from what I heard is that he was from a rich family and his dad went to Harvard. So I think he got the easy way. But for other people that were working with him, it wasn't easy. It was hard for them. They had to work really hard. I mean, you look at stars that he worked with, Jeanette McCurdy. Who else? Why can't I think of them right now? Well, Jeanette McCurdy's one of them, and then you have, I can't think of anyone. Probably some of the, and Leon or Brian, yeah, because I remember they mentioned how they came from a really rough neighborhood, and they were hoping, when they went to all that, he was really happy that, he was like, I'm finally gonna get my family and I out of the neighborhood and finally into a better place, something like that.
To those people, because I hate that anybody worked for me and didn't have a good time. You know me, you've been on my sets. Look, I've had some employees that have worked for me for 10 years, some more than 20 years, who would work with me again, but not everybody. There's still a significant number that didn't have a great time working for me, so my batting average isn't nearly high enough in that area. And the way they wouldn't get the best of me is that I would let the pressure of doing 40 or even more episodes per year I would let that pressure get to me, which a good boss should never, ever do.
Well, yeah, I mean, had you thought about getting a therapist? Maybe you should have talked to a therapist about it. Again, there's no shame in getting therapy. Because I get therapy too. And I've done it for so many years.
Was there specific things that you were doing?
Sure, I would snap at people sometimes. I would be snarky when I could have given them a nicer answer. I would not give people the time that they needed. I would be in too big a hurry to get on to the next thing I had to do. And watching that show, it made me, there were so many times I wanted to pick up a phone and call some of those people and say, I'm so sorry and let's talk about it. And
well, you should have done that instead of just getting mad at everybody else. I mean, from my personal experience, I had a boss who I worked for, and she would always yell at the receptionist. Like, I remember one time, I guess the receptionist kind of messed up one day, and I remember seeing the boss come in, and she was like, she got really mad. Like, she didn't even say, sorry, good morning or anything. It was just her being like, you to my office now. And I don't know, from what I heard is that she yelled at them, and the receptionist, they cried, and supposedly the patient that was there, the patient's like, well, I can't believe your boss took it really hard. I mean, it's okay. I mean, people mess up. Which is why I kind of had to quit that job, because I wasn't a fan of hers. I mean, yeah, she gave us stuff. Like, she would always reward us stuff for Christmas, Halloween, but it's just that her attitude just was not good. How she got married, I have no idea. Because her husband's a really nice guy, and I really don't get it.
I wish you'd had a better time, and I wish I could have shown you a better experience.
Yeah. Now, you've written hundreds of episodes. Thousands of jokes have been told.
Yeah.
But currently, where we are,
Uh-huh.
some people think that some of those jokes are inappropriate for children. What do you think of that?
All these jokes that you're speaking of, that the show covered over the past 2 nights, every one of those jokes was written for a kid audience because kids thought they were funny and only funny. Okay? Now we have some adults looking back at them 20 years later through their lens, and they're looking at them and they're saying, oh, I don't think that's appropriate for a kid show. And
It was never inappropriate anyway. I mean, you had freaking Ariana Grande squishing a potato trying to get juice on it, and then you had her choking on water. And then not only that, you had people presenting their feet, which is like, a lot of people have foot fetishes nowadays, and it's really inappropriate. Well, if you look at them though, I mean, I'm not saying that, well, actually, yeah, it is kind of appropriate in general, but unfortunately people like that stuff.
I have no problem with that. If that's how anyone feels, let's cut those jokes out of the show, just like I would have done 20 years ago.
But that's the problem. Even some of his co-stars knew it was a weird thing. Like, I remember Alexa Nicholas when she put like that jelly on Jamie Lynn Spears' face. I think she said that one of the producers said that, oh, that's a C ... shot. And I'm like, well, why didn't you cut that out? And Dan was right there when it happened. She said that Dan was laughing really loud.
25 years ago, I cut it. I want my shows to be popular. I want everyone to like. The more people who like the shows, the happier I am.
Yeah.
So if there's anything in a show that needs to be cut because it's upsetting somebody, let's cut it.
So I think it's big for you to say, with your work, if it's viewed as that today, you don't have a problem.
Cut it. Cut it.
I mean, that's a solution.
The last thing I want to ever do
Yeah.
is put any content in a show that's going to upset my audience and make them want to.
Yeah, but that upset your audience, all those nasty things. I mean, there's a good example, Victorious, and then there's, if you look at Sloan, Sloan, on his video, I think on Henry Danger, they're like in this massage chair where one of the characters like, yeah, and it's so weird, like, it's inappropriate in general. Like, maybe you should have looked at your coworkers' faces and be like, okay, you know what, maybe I should have cut it, because from the looks of them, they don't seem to like it. But like a lot of the people said in the documentary, he was the kind of guy that liked to be surrounded by yes people.
Turn off the TV. Why would I ever want to do that?
That makes sense. I want to give you an opportunity to kind of elaborate on something.
Okay.
The thought process from the series is you had the power to just write a joke, and no matter what, it's going on TV. You just had that type of power. Is that true?
The notion that I had the power to just produce whatever I wanted and have it air is completely false.
Okay.
There were many, many levels of scrutiny. Okay? We had executives in LA. We had executives in New York.
So two coasts.
Two coasts
Okay.
of
Both
approval.
coasts.
Yes. And by the way, approval at every stage, really.
Okay.
And I'm talking about wardrobe. I'm talking about makeup, sound, sets, dialogue.
Oh, and sorry to interrupt again, but there's also Noseboy. I mean, remember Noseboy? Like, ew. Poor guy. I don't know if it was Brian. I think it was Brian. But just looking at it, you could tell that's stereotypical for him. I mean, I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, this is exactly what people in the early 1900s or probably 1800s were doing with the black community. I don't know if anyone knows, but there's like this thing called blackface, where white people, they would do like these comedy shows and cover themselves up all in black and portray themselves as black people, with the big lips and the big ears, which I don't think black people, not all, not a single black, I don't think any black people look like that in general. I mean, I think everyone looks like that in some way, but again, there's no shame in looking like that, but to portray a black person like that, it's really messed up. It's kind of like the same way, like, if you look at it closely, it's kind of connected to blackface. Like, I don't know why white people did that. It was just it was very dark. And if you do watch some of the clips, you would see how embarrassing and humiliating these people portray the black community. It's really sad and depressing and just on a whole new level of psychopath. But it's kind of like what Dan Schneider's doing to poor Brian or Leon. I don't know. I can't tell which is different. But Noseboy was just, it kind of reminded me of blackface a little bit. Because not all black people have big noses. Everyone, no matter what race you are, even myself included, I have a big nose. Some people might have big noses too. But it's like that with everyone.
Dialogue, jokes, everything.
Now, when you say approval, these obviously that's a hierarchy, not your colleagues or
right.
people in the room. Okay.
No, not my colleagues. No, these are my bosses. Bosses, and then their bosses, and then their bosses. And they're approving all of this stuff.
Okay.
Okay? And we're also shooting it in front of all sorts of adults and caregivers and the set teacher and the families. Everybody's watching it. And if anybody had said anything, hey, we don't like that, that's not appropriate, then it would have been cut out.
Now, I'm gonna push back a little bit
Sure.
because the series painted you in this way that you were just the guy that was doing what he wanted, and people were afraid to confront you about things. So say, just humor me, say that was the case. What would have been the ultimate way to...
Okay. If nobody on the set, if all of the dozens and dozens of adults that were on the set, if they didn't say anything, if my bosses...
By the way, in the documentary, he didn't have a lot of people, like a lot of parents on the set. He just had them just go somewhere. Oh God, what happened? Okay, yeah. So what happened was that, from what I heard, is that supposedly Dan Schneider didn't want the parents around. That's what I heard. It's in the documentary too.
Said, if they insisted, you got to make a change here, you got to cut that. I had to do it. I had no choice.
Got it. Now this next one, it kind of hit close to home. Being a new father, I wouldn't be opposed to my child being in the entertainment industry. It doesn't matter what age, yeah? Seeing some of those on-air dares.
On-air dare was kind of like Elimination Chamber in WWE, only the difference is Elimination Chamber physically hurts, and on-air dare is like really gross, nasty stuff. Like they had a scorpion in a kid's mouth. Why would they do that? That's just dumb.
Seeing it now, from where you are now in your life, what do you think of that?
I think that some of the on-air dares went too far.
Yeah, they did.
I think they pushed the envelope too far. Not all of them,
did.
not most of them, but some did. Nickelodeon wanted to do their version of Fear Factor. At the time we were shooting All That, so I was tasked with doing these on-air dares with the All That cast. So we get with the writers and we
Maybe they should have done like America's Got Talent or American Idol. I mean, American Idol was a huge thing back in the early 2000s, but they decided to do Fear Factor, which is something that adults would do. Oh yeah, and by the way, someone died on Fear Factor during the first few seasons.
come up with all these ideas, and it's hard to do because we don't have the budget of Fear Factor, and we can't put the kids in dangerous situations like the adults are put in. So it was hard to come up with stuff. But we would come up with all these ideas of dares they could do. We would give them to the network, and they would say, tell us the ones that were okay.
Right.
Those are the ones we shot. Those are the ones that aired. At the time, I had no indication that any kid ever had a problem with them. But when I was watching the show over the past 2 nights, I now know that there were kids who did have problems with the on-air dares. And it breaks my heart. And I'm so sorry. I am so sorry to any kid who ever had to do.
You really have to be sorry for that because a lot of kids still remember some of it. Like, for example, that one kid that had peanut butter all over his body, and then the dogs are licking all over his body, and he's like, I don't like this, I don't like this. And then there's that kid with the scorpion. I don't know who it was, though. And then that other guy, Jack Tacena, covered in worms. Like, that is nasty. Why? I think it was a tub of worms, too. Like, that's just gross.
Do a dare or anything that they didn't want to do or weren't comfortable doing. We went out of our way to make sure they were safe and that everything was done properly. But if a kid was scared and didn't want to do it, kids shouldn't have had to.
Oh, and also, I heard that's animal abuse, too. For the peanut butter one.
Do it.
Yeah.
Period, the end.
Right.
And if I had known at the time, I would have changed it on the spot.
Now, we also saw the series highlight 2 former writers' viewers, 2 women, who spoke about a wage discrepancy. Now, I know that you don't divvy out salaries. Talk to me about that part.
Well, you're correct. I have nothing to do with paying writers. I never have. I've never made a writer's deal.
No, but from the documentary, you hired them and you only told them that they would get half the salary. And not only that, but you hired someone, a guy, who was inexperienced, who did not have experience like those ladies did, and you gave him full salary. What's up with that? Obviously, I don't know. Maybe he didn't have much control, but he somehow got control of those ladies getting half salary.
And of all the writers I've been in a writer's room with, I never even knew how much most of them were getting paid.
Yeah, but we saw these 2 women who were writers for you sharing one salary. How does that happen?
It's very simple. There's a common practice in television when hiring writers.
Oh, and not just that, but you also threatened these women allegedly. Like saying that if you tell anyone that I pay you half salary, I'll make sure you never work in Hollywood. Typical thing for someone that would say that in Hollywood.
If you have a spot for a new writer, sometimes you'll go to 2 writers and say, hey, if you 2 new writers for your first job are willing to share a salary, you can both have the job. They have the opportunity to say, yes, that sounds good, or no, no thank you. In this case, it was 2 women writers. I've done another show where that teaming was done with 2 male writers, and they split a salary. I did another show where it was a male and a female writer, and they split a salary.
Wait, but didn't you say that you don't have control in the salaries, that supposedly you weren't the one that had the females get half a salary? Why are you saying that 2 men are sharing salaries all of a sudden? And then a man and female. Oh, sorry about that. I don't get it. I really don't get it with this guy.
So,
And these are all first-time writers.
all first-time writers looking for their first gig.
Got it. Now, in the series,
No, but the problem is these ladies, the ones in the documentary, from their accusations, they said that they've had temporary jobs, so they did have experience.
they also highlighted 2 black actors who said that they felt overlooked. Now, I want to be clear. I'm never going to speak on anyone else's journey. Yeah, I can talk about my experience, how my experience was with you, what I saw prior to working with you. But again, I don't want to speak on anyone's journey. I saw you be honored for diversity in your work.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's the problem. I was thinking about this too. Is that even though there was some diversity and all that, Keenan and Kel, maybe in some of the shows there was just one black guy, that one black guy, and that's it. There were no Asians. There were no Arab, Arabics, or is it Saudi Arabians? I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry, guys. There were no French people as main characters, or Alaskan people. Well, actually, yeah, that would be rare, but there's a lot more diversity nowadays. Like, there's the Asians, Mexicans, the Italians, and, the Saudi Arabians, and the indigenous people, Native Americans, in case you guys don't know what that is. Why didn't they get roles too? I'm pretty sure some of them were pretty good actors. Like, for example, I remember I was like watching a show, that 80s show. I know, not a good show, but they had an Asian actor playing one of the main roles. Especially that 70. I know it's not a good example considering, what happened. They had like a Mexican or Ecuadorian. I can't remember who it was, but I thought it was an Indian guy at first. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if no one noticed, but have you noticed that there's no Asians or Saudi Arabians or anything like that other than just blacks and whites? But a little bit of black people. And hardly ever any Mexicans, too.
And the reason for that is diversity has always been very important to me in my shows. If you
Nope.
go back to the very first Nickelodeon show I ever made, that's very evident, as it is in the second one, and then the first movie I ever made for Nickelodeon, which starred Keenan and Kel. And
Well,
every
yeah, that
show I
is
did
kind of true, but that was it. After that, there was, like, not much. Why?
after that had a lead black actor in it. I'm very proud of that. It's very important to me. And not only am I proud that they were in my shows, I'm exceptionally proud of the achievements they've had beyond my shows. And they've gone on to bigger and better things. And that gives me a great sense of pride.
Well, something that really kind of bothered me was how they depicted your relationship with the cast.
Yeah, it bothered me too.
Yeah, just me being there, I knew the dynamic was trust. I understood that in situations where they may have had turmoil, whether it be with their families, whether it be other castmates, they came to you. Versus how they made you look. With that said, Amanda Bynes was brought up in the series and her emancipation and how you were involved in that. Can you talk to us about it a bit?
Sure. Amanda was between the ages of 16 and 17, and she wanted to get emancipated from her parents, which was a fairly
In the documentary, one of the people said that Amanda was missing all the time, and they would ask, "Well, where's Amanda?" And they'd be like, "Oh, she's with Dan. They're writing stuff and just hanging out." And I'm like, what kind of people would allow a old man to let a girl at the time, a teenager, hang out with them? That's just weird. By themselves, mostly working on stuff. That to me is not good.
common thing with successful young actors, at least at the time.
Sure.
And she wanted that for herself. So she turned to her team, which included her lawyer, her agent, her manager, her publicist, me, because she included me as part of her team, thought of me that way. We supported her. She tried to get emancipated. It ended up not working out. She didn't.
Well, since we're here, let's stay here for a moment. There was also an incident where she had ran away from home, if
Yes.
you would. Can you talk to us a little bit just to clear the air of exactly what happened in that situation?
Yes. One night, it was very late, well after midnight, 1 or 2 in the morning. Phone rang. I answered. It was Amanda. She was upset. She was in distress. She had had some conflict with her parents, I think her father, and she called me. I was immediately concerned about her safety. I called someone who I knew was fairly nearby. That person was able to go and pick her up. Then I knew she was safe. I felt better. She ended up being taken to the police.
Well, regardless of what some people may think, I think it's only positive that you are there for people when they need you. That said, let's...
Yeah, but why is Amanda mentally unwell? Like, in 2013 she went to jail because of her behavior and because she was caught, I think, smoking weed or something, and then DUIs and a bunch of other stuff. I can't remember. And still, like, she's still going through that. I don't think that's helping people. I think it's just trying to make yourself look good. And Amanda's still suffering. Even if she says it or not, she's still suffering.
Let's talk about some of the things that have just been swirling forever.
Okay.
You were banned from your set.
Never happened. That is a false rumor.
What happened?
Add it to the list of false
Talk
rumors.
to me. What happened?
They were adult actresses at the time, and they had their own specific reasons for not wanting to do the show anymore. I'm not judging that. It got tense, and what they don't know, maybe, is I did everything I could to make that show go away. My producer partner at the time, we would call and say, this is not a good situation.
Okay.
So I decided I'm going to do what most showrunners do, which is you're not on the set. There's a director there to shoot it. I'll go up to the writer's room. I'll work on the next script. But because everybody was so used to me caring about every detail of every show so much, for me not to be on the set, maybe some people thought I got banned.
So it was more of an assumption because this guy's usually here and now he's not.
I don't know if it was an assumption. I don't know if somebody thought they were making me look bad by saying I got banned from the set. I have no idea.
Okay.
All I know is I was never banned from the set.
Yep. The darkest part of this series discussed child predators. Now, I want to make sure that we clear a couple of things up.
Okay.
Brian Peck was not hired by you.
No, I did not hire Brian Peck.
This was a Tolan Robbins production?
Yeah. And when Drake and I talked and he told me...
Yeah, I don't know about that either. Like, I don't know. I mean, I've heard that supposedly the Robbins people, they hired Brian Peck, but I don't know. I heard from a source that supposedly, or I think a victim as well, they came out and said that Dan had more control or something. I don't know. Just let me know if you guys know anything about that.
What had happened, I was more devastated by that than anything that ever happened to me in my career thus far. And I told him, I'm here for you. What do you need? Which Drake mentioned in the show that we watched last night. And next, I heard that he went to court when this guy was being tried, Peck. And when Drake walked in, he saw 50 people sitting on the side of the courtroom supporting Peck. A lot of them pretty famous. Of course, Drake was devastated that happened. And even more disappointing, 41 of those people wrote letters for Peck.
I don't know. I kind of feel like he's kind of blaming the shift on the people in the court, which, of course, they also need to be held accountable, too. I don't know. Do you guys think this is like a distraction? Like blaming on other people? Oh, not here. Don't look here. Look over there. Over there. That's what I see it as.
Character letters praising him for who he was and asking for leniency.
But I do agree. Brian Peck is a sick mother, you know what.
And they knew that he was guilty. They knew he had confessed to some degree. And they still did this. That's baffling that adults would do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people know this, but Drake's mom, a lovely woman who I stay in contact with this day, she came to me at the time and she said, Dan, I'm not good with words like you are. And would you help me with my speech for the judge? And I said, of course.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, but I actually fell for that for a little bit. But he didn't even have any tears.
And I did. And he ended up going to prison and serving his time. And yeah, that was probably the darkest part of my career.
Yeah, see,
And
no tears.
Here's the kicker that I really don't get. After he got out of prison and was, to my knowledge, a registered sex offender, He was hired on a Disney Channel show.
See, now he's
I
blaming on
don't-
Disney. I mean, yeah, it was Disney's fault too, but why are you pointing it at Disney next?
I don't understand that. I never, yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that, man. Are you okay? You want to take a minute?
Yeah, I'm all right. Let's keep going.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we really unpacked some important things. We set the record straight on a lot of things. Before I let you get out of here, I appreciate the vulnerability that you use in knowing that there's definitely
Again, this is not Tebow's. What's his name? Oh, Boogie. This is not Boogie's channel. I don't know why he keeps saying like it's his channel. This is Dan Schneider's channel. Dan Central.
things that you would have and should have done differently. Is there anything that we haven't discussed? Anything that if you could go back and navigate the journey differently, what would that look like?
Yeah, there's definitely things that I would do differently. One that I think would be really, really important is when you're hiring young actors, minors, to work in television, I would suggest that we have a licensed therapist there to oversee that process.
Well, you should have had one in the first place. But obviously it was the 90s. No one really thought well. But you should have had one for their sake. If you really cared.
For the specific reason of making sure that those kids really wanted to do this job, that they really wanted to be on television. Maybe they should even be informed about what that means. What's it going to mean if you're famous? What's that going to mean on social media? What's it going to mean within your family? Let them find out. And then that way, if a kid doesn't want to be on a TV show, they can opt out. That psychologist, that therapist could come to us and say, this kid doesn't want to do it, or their parents aren't understanding of what's going to come. And then we could avoid the mistake of ever putting a kid in a TV show that didn't want to be there. And additionally, the main thing that I would change is how I treat people and everyone. I definitely at times didn't give people the best of me. I didn't show enough patience. I could be cocky and definitely overambitious, and sometimes just straight up rude and obnoxious, and I am so sorry that I ever was. And all right, when I watched the show, I could see the hurt in some people's eyes, and it made me feel awful and regretful and sorry. I wish I could go back, especially to those earlier years of my career, and bring the growth and the experience that I have now and just do a better job and never, ever feel like it was okay to be an asshole to anyone, ever.
Oh, dude, what did he say? Oh, I'm going to have to bleep
Look,
that one.
I wanted to make funny TV shows for kids, and we definitely did that. But if I could go back, I would get it done in different ways. I'd just be nicer as often as possible and listen more to the people on my team. And I would do everything that I could to make sure that everyone had a good experience. That's what I do differently.
Dan, I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you.
Thanks for stopping by, man.
Thank you.
He stopped by his own channel, by the way. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Personally, there's a lot of contradictions with this apology. I think maybe he was being a teeny bit sincere, but it still doesn't erase the damage for what he's done to all his employees, co-stars, writers, producers, etc., etc. He still managed to hire or get people like Brian Peck, Jason Handy, Ezell. I don't know what that other guy's name is, but he should have cared more. He should have reached out, and I think this documentary it was only a way for him to save face, for him to apologize and go on YouTube immediately after the documentary and people coming out with all these allegations. But I just don't think he's changed. I think he's still trying to save himself, trying to at least get employment, and knowing that he finally got caught for getting exposed in this documentary. Again, these are accusations, so I'm not sure if they're 100% correct, but it if it's not coming out from one mouth, it's coming out from a bunch of mouths, and it's kind of hard to say well, it's coming from a lot of people, so most likely you did something. But I don't know. Honestly, like, I think for Dan, it's like, ow. I think for Dan, he has a lot of things that I personally think that someone needs to look at him, like maybe like do some kind of like how do you say it, like a therapist or something, because I don't know, I don't think he's changed. I think he's still somewhat bitter, and I don't know why he had Boogie there. I mean, it's not his channel, it's Dan's channel. I don't know why they made it seem like Boogie has his own podcast, which I don't really understand why he even came in the first place. That's just trying to like make him look good, make Dan look good. But yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna talk about right now. If you guys like this video, comment, like, subscribe if you're on YouTube. But if you're on Twitch, then go ahead and follow if you want to. If you would like to donate to, you can. Just click on the About tab. It should be somewhere. I'm not sure why it's not showing up on my phone right here. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this stream, and I might have to bleep some words, but it's okay. And I'll see you guys in the next video, next stream maybe. And comment or tell me if you guys want me to do more of these videos regarding, quiet on set. Because I don't want to seem like I'm oversaturating it. It's because I really feel bad for all these former child stars having to suffer so much. And I get it, we should also care about other kids too who were abused, but yeah, I mean, the cycle of abuse unfortunately continues, and it's something I've been really into for a long time, trying to understand why people hurt little kids and why they think it's fun for them, which is not. It's not. I mean, kids are sponges. They soak up everything they see, and they just take it with them as they get older. I mean, I've learned this in in a psychology class, not child psychology. But there's a lot of dark history with that. Anyway, this is Duster, and take care of your mental health. No, wait. No. But take care of your mental health. Sorry, it's just I accidentally clicked on it. And everyone around you, and I'll try to do the same too. Also, I just wanted to stream because it's raining outside, so I didn't have any plans, which is why I came on here. But I'll see you guys next time. Take care.